Hello everyone, time for the assembly guide for the version 2 buggy. Here you can see what the typical assembly looks like, this being the rear suspension and drivetrain. Start off mounting the nylon drive joints into the output gear. One bearing on each side, then screw them together with the M3 by 25. Place it into the gearbox. Second gear consists of two bearings, a shaft and the gear itself. The shaft should be a press fit into the gear, but you can glue it if it's too sloppy. Place it into the gearbox. My base part here already has M4 nuts inserted as shown. Time for the third gear, which is a bit more complicated. Use two M3 by 16 and four M3 by 10. Start by putting on a bearing, the small hollow gear, followed by another bearing. Secure it with the printed washer. Mount the gear and secure it with the big printed washer. Make sure you also insert the screw that goes through the middle of the shaft. This acts as a reinforcement. Place it into the gearbox. Time to mount the lower links. Use 4 M3 by 16. You might need to slightly lift the big gear to reach. Don't over tighten the screws, they need to have a little play. I tighten them just snug and then unscrew them about half a revolution. Make sure the arms are moving freely. Put the top cap on. Use 2 M4 by 40. Install the suspension mount and lower shock mount. Use 2 M4 by 20 and whatever shock hardware you have. Install the upper lever arms. Use 2 M3 by 25 and whatever shock hardware you have. These are side specific, so make sure it matches the picture. Make sure they move freely without too much play. Time for the rear wheel hubs. Insert a bearing onto the nylon wheel shaft. Insert the wheel shaft into the hub. Insert the bearing spacer sleeve and insert the second bearing. Mount the dog bone drive shafts into either end and line it up as you're inserting the wheel hub into the suspension arms. Attach the wheel hub with 3 M3 by 16. It needs to move freely with minimal play. Do the same for the other side. Install the 70mm shocks. Install the motor with two countersunk M3 by 10 screws. And adjust the tooth engagement so it runs freely without play. Install whichever size of wheel adapter you need if you wish to use spot wheels. Shown is the 15mm version with M3 by 35 bolts and a printed washer. Push the adapter on, make sure to align it with the wheel shaft, put the wheels on and screw them in place. The washer helps keep the rim from breaking. Install the gear cover with one M3 by 10 screw. Assemble the frame with two 4mm rods that are roughly 80mm long, two M4 nuts and two M4 by 20 screws. Insert the nuts and rods into the frame and screw it together. Put the rear suspension assembly into place. It should almost snap into place if the fit is correct. Use 4 countersunk M4 by 10 on the bottom and 1 countersunk M4 by 25. Screw it tightly into place. Start work on the front assembly. Attach the blue piece to the grey base piece with 2 M4 by 20. Attach the lower arms with 4 M3 by 16. Make sure the arms rotate freely with minimal play. Attach the upper arms with 2 M3 by 16. Again, make sure they rotate freely. Time for the steering hub. Attach with 3 M3 by 16 and make sure they move freely. Attach the rod end links to the steering bar. Use 3 M3 by 16. Eye to eye, the outer links will be roughly 54mm and the middle one will be roughly 40mm. Install the other steering linkages. Use 4 M3 by 16 and a washer if available. Make sure they rotate freely with minimal play. Attach whatever servo hardware you need. Attach whatever shock hardware you're using. This is 70mm shocks with a M2.5 screw at the bottom and a M3 ball joint at top. The top part will be loose for now. Start working on the front wheel hubs. Insert a bearing onto the wheel shaft, slide the bearing spacer onto the wheel shaft, slide the whole thing into the hub and install the second bearing. Attach the wheel adapters. Install the steering hubs with 2 M3 by 10, make sure they can rotate freely. Also mount the steering linkages. I used a M3 by 16 with a nut as a spacer. The front assembly is now ready to be bolted to the frame. Attach it with 2 countersunk M4 by 10 and 2 regular M4 by 20. Assemble the top brace with 4 countersunk M4 by 10. Insert 2 M4 nuts at the front, put it in place and install it with 2 M4 by 20 screws at the front. Then add 2 M4 by 10 screws at the rear. Install the wheels you intend to use with as long screws as possible. I used M3 by 25 here to fit the adapters. Mount the front bumper. Insert M4 nuts into the frame, insert the bumper and attach 2 countersunk M4x10 screws from the bottom. Install the battery shelf with 4 countersunk M4x20. Last piece is the servo lockdown. Gets installed with 2 countersunk M4x10. And that's the completed piece without electronics. But that's no fun, now is it? Here's the pile of stuff I used. Mount the servo, but don't connect the linkage until you've powered it up and know it's centered. Install the battery to get a sense of space. Install the 30x30 fan for forced cooling of the motor. Secure the ESC. I used double-sided tape. I mounted the receiver and steering gyro on the other side. And I used 2 rubber bands just to hold the wiring in place. It's now ready to drive, but first let's take a look at the body. The shell is 2 pieces held together with 3 M3x16 and some glue if you wish. I both used a 3D pen and epoxy to fuse this together proper. A bit excessive to be honest. At the rear you have the wing, 2 wing mounts and then the snap mount to the chassis. The body now installs with 2 hooks in the front and the snap mount in the rear. Happy driving! I was gonna get some video but ended up hitting a curb doing 40 km/h after maybe 20 seconds of driving with this as a result. Roughly an hour of printing to get back up and running. Here's some old driving footage. If you have any unanswered questions, just let me know in the comment section and I'll try to help out. Thanks for watching and hope to see you in the next one. Bye!